Return to Monkey Island is here, and you can bet your life that I played that game as soon as I possibly could. The series is one of my favourites, with my favourite from the series being The Curse of Monkey Island. In fact, my review of The Curse of Monkey Island is the most popular video on this channel, so it made sense that I would return to Prudent Gaming with this game. You can see my Curse of Monkey Island review if you click up here, or I'll leave a link in the description down below. And just so you know, I review and talk about what make games so great, so if that's something that you want to see more of, then be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on those. Now enough monkeying around, let's get on with this swashbuckling adventure, starting with the story. Now before we get into the story of this game, if you haven't played any of the others, don't worry. There is a scrapbook in the settings menu which goes through the story of all of the previous games. Most of the focus is on the very first game, but at least it doesn't leave out all the other games that Ron Gilbert wasn't involved in, so that's good. It means you don't have to go into this one blind. Also, spoilers for the very start of the game if you're worried about that. You can skip to this time if you want to just skip to the next part of the video. We start the return to Monkey Island exactly where Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge finishes, in the theme park. Boy Brush and Chucky come out and start shenanigans around the place while you are introduced to the controls and your to-do list, telling you what to do before moving on. You can practice sword fighting, finding a 4-leaf clover, making a wish, and listening or skipping through a made-up speech all about anchors, which goes on and on and on and on and on. After completing your to-do list, we run up to a bench to find what? Guybrush Threepwood, looking a little older. What a twist! It turns out you're actually playing as Guybrush's son in the tutorial, but it's okay because we soon take control of our man Guybrush as he starts to tell his son the story of how he finally found the secret of Monkey Island. Thus kicking off the second best Monkey Island game I've ever seen. The first real change you will notice about the visuals is the art style. Now, Monkey Island is a series that's known for having a different art style for almost every single game. From the pixel graphics of the first and second, which still hold up very well today, especially after the huge indie renaissance that happened in the early 2010s. We've had so much great pixel art since then, and it's because that style of art is timeless. We've then got the fantastic Disney-like art style of Curse, which is my favourite. I'll leave a link to the review in the description down below. But I feel like calling it Disney-like is quite apt now that Disney owned the IP. Their first foray into 3D was an admirable attempt, but the graphics don't really hold up too well for the fourth one. It looks quite dated, and Guybrush's model looks like a China doll with no expression. And the same can be said for the Telltale series of the Monkey Island games. The 3D holds up a little bit better than Escape from Monkey Island, but it still just does not look quite right, and it has not held up too well. Now this new art style received a lot of hate when it was first revealed earlier this year. It's an irrational hatred, if you ask me. I admit, I didn't quite like it when I first saw it, but as soon as you sit down and jump into this adventure with Guybrush, this art style feels right at home. It feels correct. When you actually start playing the game, the art style feels like a Monkey Island game. It fits the theme brilliantly. And I actually have come to love this art style for the game. I do still hope that they experiment with a new style in the next one. Ron Gilbert seems to be hinting that there will be a next one. But what's stuck around here with the art style, like all of the other games, there is no such thing as a straight line in this game. All of the environments, as before, they all seem disproportionate and kind of warped in how they look. And that's just part of what you love when you see Monkey Island. Characters look like they've been made from paper cutouts, and that helps to set the tone when you pair it with the smooth animations. And one thing I noticed with the animation of the characters is when someone is talking, their head slightly squishes and stretches to the cadence of what they're saying. It's very subtle, but it helps pull your focus towards that character. And it's a lot more engaging than just seeing their mouth move up and down. I'll give one brief mention of an issue I had where a character named Flambe their heads seemed to have been glitching out when they were talking to me. Now, I don't know if that's just the version I downloaded and it's only happening to me, or if anyone else has experienced that. If you've played the game and you experienced this glitch with Flambe's head, then please let me know in the comments down below. This new art style brings the series back to 2D, where it belongs. 2D is where Monkey Island has all the room to shine with everything else. The 3D Monkey Islands were a nice attempt, very enjoyable games, but the 2D experience for these is so much better. It allows the rest of the game to shine in the gameplay. Point and click. But no, in all seriousness, I thought the controls for the Cursor Monkey Island were streamlined, where you'd left click to walk places and you would right click and bring up the medallion, and you would choose to either look at or examine or talk to or eat or push or pick up. It would change depending on what the item is, but I thought that was pretty much as streamlined as you can get. Well, Return to Monkey Island has made the controls even more streamlined. You click to move as usual. Right click would be your action button, so the only action that appears is what can be done with said object or person. So if you right click on a person, it's going to be you talk to them. If you right click on an object, if you can pick it up, it will be that you pick it up. So there's no choice that you need to go over. Unlike with Curse, although that was streamlined from the previous games, you did have a lot of repeated dialogue when you try and pick something up that's just part of the environment, and Guybrush will just keep throwing out the same one sentence every time saying, like, he can't do that or something. He'll be like, no. You don't get that here, so you don't get those annoying phrases repeated. And it also stops the player from stopping their progress slightly by trying to cycle through all the different actions over something, hoping that they stumble on the right answer. And there's been some quality of life improvements as well, which don't take away from the challenge of the puzzles. The biggest thing that comes to mind is how fast you could zip to each location. For example, when you're on Melee Island in the beginning, you can actually click on the specific parts of the town. So you can go straight to High Street or Low Street or the docks. You don't have to run a marathon through 3 separate screens to get to where you want to go. Double clicking to run isn't something that's new to the series, but it definitely feels like Guybrush has been doing some sprint training, because it feels a lot quicker than the previous games. And you get to travel to a few new islands later on in the game. I don't want to spoil the actual names and locations of those islands, but one of them fell short for me. There was one island that you go to, and when you're on the overworld map of that island, there are a few places where it looks like you could select to go to, but instead, Guybrush gives out one line of why him and Elaine like going there. It would have been nice if you could fully explore that island instead of having, I think it's 2 places to go to there. I would have liked to have explored the island a bit more, but it is what it is. So let's talk about the puzzles. It is, of course, a puzzle game. The puzzles in Return to Monkey Island are a nice challenge. I've finished the game on casual mode, and the footage you're currently seeing is my current playthrough on hard mode. All of the puzzles make sense, and they're not totally obscure like they were in the earlier games, though there is some slight obscurity of the puzzles in hard mode, but largely they all make sense, because that total obscurity in the earlier games drove me crazy when I first played them. And there aren't any finicky tasks either. One thing that really comes to mind is that one in the first game where you had to keep swapping the grog between the cups before the cup melted to get you somewhere. You don't have anything like that in this game, and I really appreciate that. Though, if you do by chance get stuck at any point in the game, the Voodoo Lady has kindly given you a hint book which you can look at whenever you like. And it doesn't just give you the answer, which is excellent. The hint book works like a hint book should work. It doesn't tell you exactly where to go. You just say, look, how do I do this? I need a hint. And then it says, you need to figure out a way of doing so-and-so. Have you tried doing this? Try speaking to this person. That's literally all it will say. It wouldn't give you the actual answer. It will just nudge you in the right direction, which is exactly what you want out of a hint book, because it doesn't take away from the accomplishment of solving the puzzle in the end. you still get that achievement of being able to solve the puzzle even if you've had to take a hint. It doesn't make you feel guilty, which is what a hint book should be. So you go and have fun solving those puzzles however you want. Now, of course, a staple of the Monkey Island games is the insult sword fighting. And insult sword fighting is in the game. Kind of. This is what disappointed me slightly, because you don't take any active role really in the insult sword fighting, and it only appears in about 2 scenes. I really wish that there would have been a fresh new take on the insult sword fighting. And there kind of is, but like I said, you're not actively a part of it. It would have been nice to have this whole thing where you need to take part in it yourself and go around fighting swords. You don't get that in this game. And that's something that I am hoping for in the next one. And if that's something that you was hoping for, then I'm sorry to let you down. But please do let me know your favourite insults from the previous games in the comments down below. I'd love to hear those. Monkey Island is known for its fantastic Caribbean and sea shanty themed soundtrack, and this one slaps just as hard as the other ones. The music is one of the things I love most about this series. I often put on the soundtracks while I'm working. In fact, I was listening to the soundtrack of The Curse and The Secret of Monkey Island while I was writing the script for this. And it always just puts me in a good mood. Michael Land, Clint Bajakian and Peter McConnell return to compose the music for this game, just like they have for previous games in the series, and they know what they're doing. They just get it right every single time for these games. They make the music one of the shining stars of the series, and they've done exactly the same for this game. And of course, another standout from the music is the voice acting. Now, Monkey Island has always had great voice acting from when they first put it in The Curse of Monkey Island in 1997. Dominic Armato returns as Guybrush Threepwood, and it's like hearing an old friend. His delivery is just as you'd expect Guybrush to sound, and you can just feel his passion throughout the whole game. Like, you know he loves this series. Alexandra Boyd and Neil Ross return as Elaine and Wally respectively, and again, it's so great and comforting to hear these old voices come back again. Though Earl Boen is replaced by Jess Harnell as LeChuck, and there's something to Earl Boen's voice that I can't quite place that's missing from Jess Harnell's performance. However, Harnell's LeChuck is fantastic, and I don't want to take away from that at all, because it's probably the best replacement that you would ever hear anyway. It's as close as it could be to the original. And as you could probably tell, I'm no expert on audio, but I will give a brief mention to the sound effects in this game. None of them felt out of place. The clinking of swords when sword fighting was present was so satisfying to hear, and the sounds of all the different animals and birds in all of the environments just really brought you into the scene. And it's those little noises that really make up the experience as a whole when walking through the islands, not just the music. And it makes these places a lot more believable. The Curse of Monkey Island still stands as my favourite, and that will be tough to beat. But Return to Monkey Island being the second best Monkey Island I've ever seen is more than just a reference to the first game. The humour, the music, the voices, the characters, it's all there, and this is definitely a strong entry to the series, easily outclassing the 3D games. I can easily recommend this game to anybody that has never played Monkey Island before, purely because the scrapbook covers all of the previous games, so you're not going to miss out on any of the story there. But it's also accessible with its streamlined controls. And if you're a long-time fan of the series, then Return to Monkey Island is also a game for you, because you will feel right at home. If you enjoyed this video, then you might also enjoy my review of another yet different pirate adventure with Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And you can see that by clicking right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you over there. Bye bye.